Are you wanting to start eating healthy, but you're running into some problems? Maybe you're like this guy over here and you're just overwhelmed with all the information, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, anything on social media. And people are talking about different diets and one about keto, one about intermittent fasting and juicing, all this stuff. It's just a lot of information and it's conflicting and you don't know where to go. Maybe you're stuck there. Or maybe you're like this guy. You see what you need to do, but it's just an overwhelming mountain to climb. People are talking about 30-day plans and you're thinking, I am struggling to get one meal that looks good, or I'm struggling to break one habit. Where do I go and how do I start to change my behavior? Or maybe you're over here and you have tried some things. You've put in the effort. You've done some of the plans, but after doing it, you look at the scale or you look at your waist measurement and the results aren't there. Where do you go from here? If you're feeling like this, man, really want to help you out and give you something better to do. And I just want to say, I get it. I've been there. I want to share with you guys my story. In high school, my food and eating was just a mess. I was hungry all the time. Every 2 hours, I would be eating. It was so bad, I would have 5 sandwiches in my lunch bag that I brought to school. 5, because I'd have to eat something in between every single class. I'd get these headaches. At the time, they seemed random, but I get why they were happening now. And they were really bad, and they just take away my focus. And I also had these huge stomach cramps that would be inconsistent, and they were extremely painful and really bad. I remember one time I was going to the washroom in so much pain, and I actually passed out. I remember because I was in the washroom, and there's the bathtub to my right, and I woke up, and I could feel this pressure against my face and cheek, and it was the bathroom. I blacked out and passed out. Horrible. I was in so much pain. And what I'm going to show you today, the stuff in this presentation I applied, and all of these things went away. Now, can I promise that every one of your problems are going to go away? No, we're all going to respond differently to what we're doing, but I know you can benefit from what I'm going to show you today. So let's get to it. This is what I'm about. You can improve your health without it consuming your life. I'm going to show you the 20% of the information that you put into practice, and it will give you 80% of the results. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be very simple, and we can just go from there. Okay? So I'm going to show you the simple way to healthy eating. Here's the things you're going to get. You're going to learn how to control your hunger, and you're going to learn how to shift the momentum of the negative habits and shift them into positive habits that are actually running all the time. And what that really means for you is that your healthy eating is going to be on autopilot. You're not going to be thinking about it. And you can be like this guy over here. He's in Zen mode. You're going to have the peace of mind knowing that your health is taken care of. And now you can interact and engage with life with full focus because you're not being distracted either mentally or physically with problems associated with your eating. Doesn't that sound awesome? Isn't that something that you want? I think it is. So let's get into this. Okay? So when it comes to food and nutrition, there's so much information. It gets really overwhelming. People are throwing out all this stuff. They're talking about diets and calories and serving sizes and superfoods and supplements and where do you start and all this type of thing. And it's just overwhelming. And so I want to clear away and prioritize the information for you so you can really focus on what matters. And here's what matters. Okay? You want to focus on the bottom elements here. And we're going to be focusing on macronutrients and sustainable habits. Macronutrients are important because when you learn how they interact with your body, you're going to have control over things like hunger. You're going to have control and know how the food you eat impacts your body and health and be able to use that to your advantage. And the bottom element is sustainable habits. I could give you the best program or advice in the world, But if you don't have a good framework to apply these things, it doesn't matter. You will not benefit from it. So underneath every single successful program is a sustainable approach that you can include it in your life at this moment so you don't get overwhelmed and that it doesn't consume your entire life. Your fitness should serve your life, not consume it. And that's what sustainable habits is all about. So today we're going to delve into macronutrients and really see how this impacts a lot of this stuff. So quick, bare bones, basic approach. There's fats, there's proteins, and there's carbs. And you've heard of these things before. I'm going to break them down in simplicity here so you can understand what's going on. In basic terms, fat is slow on the speedometer. It doesn't digest quickly. What that means for you is that if you want to control hunger, fat is your friend. In terms of the messages it tells your cells, it is neither telling it to take in and store energy or release. It's kind of neutral in its message to the cell. Protein, it digests faster than fats, but it's still slow on the speedometer. And the interesting thing about protein is it signals the cell to release energy. We've got stored up energy that we're saving. It's time to let it go. That's what protein does for your cells. And then we have carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, relatively speaking, are faster on the speedometer. They digest more quickly. Now, it depends on the carbohydrates, but by and large, they're faster. The other thing about carbs is that they signal your cell to store energy. Let's gather all the resources and nutrients and store them in the cell. Now, the temptation with these is to label certain things as good or bad. Carbs are evil, yada, yada, yada. No, they're not. All three are unique. They all have their purpose, and you just need to know how to use them to your advantage and why you would use them. So let's take carbs, because carbs right now are getting bashed on a lot. Let's talk about how they would be beneficial to you and why they wouldn't be beneficial to you, or how to use them, okay? We do not eliminate them completely. That is not a good solution. So carbs are fast digesting and they store energy. When would those characteristics be good? I'll tell you when. If your goal is to build muscle, carbs are fantastic. If your goal is to replenish energy stored in the body, so if you want to build a bunch of muscle, you've had a really tough workout and you want to increase the recovery rate, you want carbohydrates. They're your best friends. They're going to digest quickly after a workout. They're going to store all the nutrients in the cells and the muscles, and you're going to replenish and you're going to recover stronger. Now, if your goal is to lose weight and control your hunger, then you're going to have to be careful about how you use your carbs because they digest quickly, which will lead to hunger, and they tell your cells to store energy. They're not evil. You just need to know when to use them. Okay, so you're probably thinking, great, that looks simple and plain, but I eat food. I don't eat protein, carbs, and fats. Like, what do I do once I get a plate in front of me, right? For sure, I hear you. So let's go through this. We're gonna have a simple approach about how to actually eat a meal and what should be in it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna divide the plate into 3 sections based off of the 3 macronutrients we just talked about: protein, carbs, and fats. So let's talk about proteins first. We're going to take this 1/3 section of the plate here, and that's going to be for your protein. Now, great sources of protein that we always want to eat is lean meat, things like fish. You got those lean cuts of steak and things like that. And you got things like eggs. These are all great sources of protein. You can include it with pretty much any meal, and you're going to be good to go. Things you want to limit, you don't always want to eat, are the fattier meats. So things like bacon, if you have a cut of steak and it's really marble, it's got a lot of fat, you don't want to eat that all the time. You can get away with it every now and then. Sure, but you shouldn't be eating it every meal, that's for sure. Things you want to avoid: packaged meat, whether it's canned or just heavily packaged, different additives, and the processing of that is not going to be great. And then things like beans and legumes, they're going to be harder for your body to digest. Now, if you're vegetarian, you're going to have to use that as a protein source. And I'm honestly not your guy for food, you should go to someone else who's more into that sort of thing. But for me, if you've got good quality lean meats and that's an option for you, don't go with beans and legumes. They're going to do more harm than good on your digestive system. So after we got that, let's talk about the carbs. So this is this half section of the plate. Good sources of carbs. We want vegetables and fruits. These are fantastic. You can have them all the time. They're going to be higher in your vitamins and minerals, but they digest slower. When you're looking at vegetables and fruits, fruits digest more quickly than vegetables. Some of them digest really quickly, so you just got to be aware of that. So you want to bias eating more vegetables than fruit. For the limit category, you're looking at starchy vegetables like potatoes or grains like rice and corn and bread. This is in the limit category again because it's not to say you never eat them. It is to say, what are your goals and what's the context of the meal? And depending on those two things, you may choose to eat them or you may choose to not eat them. But you just need to have discernment and know when and when not to choose a certain option. Things to avoid for carbs, you're looking at junk food, sugar drinks, those are all garbage. They're trash. You'd never want to eat them, and that's pretty much the end of the story for that. Okay, and the last section is this little pie section here, and that's for your high quality fats. Now remember what we said at the start, fats are the slowest digesting food by and large. They are critical for maintaining your hunger. This is what's missing for most people. If you go to a restaurant, you can usually have some protein source and some carbs, but you're usually missing a good quality fat. So good quality fats, you got fatty fruits and butter. So you can go with butter, any fatty fruit like avocado, coconut, olives, whether that's their whole form or oil form. Those are fantastic. Have those with pretty much every meal and you are golden. In the limit category, we have nuts. This is a soft limit category. These can pretty much be in green. The only reason I would say limit these is because they're higher in omega-6s, which just means if you have a lot of it, it can be hard on your system. You shouldn't be having it every single meal every day. But, if you have it once a day, fantastic. Things to avoid, trans fats, so canola oil or vegetable oils. Margarine, which is pretty much fake butter, don't have that. Anything that's deep fried, they're going to be deep fried in those oils that we just talked about, so you want to avoid it. The other fat to avoid is hydrogenated fat. The most common way you're going to see this is with hydrogenated peanut butter. The basic thing to know about that is hydrogenating fats increases the shelf life. That's why they do it. It's not good for your body though. It doesn't digest well. It doesn't play well with your body. So don't eat it. Just get a solid nut butter and natural nut butter, and you'll know that because you'll have to stir it. And if you have one of those, it's good to go. Okay. So that is how you set up your food. And if you eat like that, you will control your hunger. You're going to maintain the balance in your body, and you just eat like that every meal. Now, I would love to hear from you guys about what you thought about this. So post a comment below. Let me know what you thought. If you thought I missed something or something really stood out to you, like, man, I really need to apply this, then put a comment below. Also, if you're thinking, man, I want to do this, like how do I do this in my circumstance? Shoot me an email at mitchdewar.com. Just say, I want to eat healthy food, and I'll get back to you and show you how to apply this stuff slowly over time in your context, so you can do this on autopilot and get back to engaging with life without all of these distractions. And that's it. That is the simple way to healthy eating. Hope you guys found that helpful.